1 minute 30 seconds.
Big flabby bellies knocking out the muscular bodybuilders. Nothing can be more fascinating for fight lovers than big upsets. When you think of a perfect fighter, a muscular guy with a toned body comes to mind who can move in the ring with the agility of a leopard. Fat guys are considered underdogs. They may look cute with their flabby bellies and all that extra fat, but their chances of knocking out well-built fighters are slim. However, in MMA, hardly anything goes as planned. Sometimes these beefy bodies pull up such a show, leaving their fans and critics agape. With all that stored power in those teddy bears, all they need is a solid punch that can knock out the open flat on the canvas, leaving them completely shattered. In this video, we will share some mouth-opening performances by fat guys. We will see how even considered underdogs, these fighters could defy expectations. Stay with us as we have gathered the most dramatic performances from the 6 feet 4 inches and 264 pounds. Rothwell was a huge man, but hardly anyone could put his money on him against Alistair Overeem. After fighting numerous promotions, including the IFL and Affliction, where he amassed a record of 30-6 before entering his UFC debut. He eventually signed with UFC in 2009. Though considered an underdog, the audience always admires and genuinely enjoys Ben Rothwell. Unlike his chubby build, Overeem had a well-toned muscular body. He had a spectacular muscular build and was a former Strikeforce heavyweight, Dream heavyweight, and K1 World Grand Prix champion. His name commands respect in any heavyweight fight. People admire and enjoy Rothwell, but Overeem was a clear favorite among bookies. But as we said, in MMA, anything can happen. The fight started with Overeem. Everyone was stunned by the brutal force and the way Overeem looked shattered. His muscular physique was no boy. Then that dance in the ring, the icing on the cake. It was a moment to be remembered for years to come. This one was quick, but in the case of Russo, he had to endure 2.5 rounds of merciless beating before his iconic knockout. Russo, with his flabby physique, stunned everyone with his ferocious punch. After making his MMA debut in 2009, Russo had already won a fight with Justin McCulley. Before UFC, he had an 11-1 record. However, the fight with Todd Duffy is even remembered as the most shocking loss in MMA history. Russo, who spent part of his time as a Chicago police officer, was no match to a muscular Duffy. The 24-year-old Duffy entered the fight with a 6-0 record and had the record for the fastest knockout in UFC history. He was strong, muscular, better shaped, and light on his feet, a step ahead of Russo in every exchange. There was no doubt Duffy made him look like a part-time fighter prior to the 3rd round. For the first 2.5 of the rounds, Duffy outclassed Russo. Russo couldn't do much except take those punches and show an impressive chin. However, it was the 3rd round that changed everything. At the midway point of round 3, Russo proved the value of fortitude. Out of nowhere came a purchase that knocked Duffy out cold, ending the fight. Russo showed the world how a flabby physique still stores the raw power that needs to be feared in the octagon. It was an eye-opening moment showing what big bellies are capable of. One punch and out goes the light. Unlike Russo and Big Ben, Justin Willis may look chubby, but had a reputation as a brawler inside and outside the ring. Big Pretty. Justin Willis's first victory against James Mulheron in Glasgow didn't raise many eyebrows. At UFC 218, he faced Alan Crowder, who looked like a light heavyweight, was fitter, and was a favorite for the fight. A mere look at Alan Crowder and the chances of Willis were diminishing. He had a muscular build, a well-toned body indicating hours well spent in the gym. He was much fitter than Big Pretty. However, it was not his day that day. It didn't take long for Willis to start landing his powerful punches. Willis blasted Crowder with a devastating left hook that almost put the debuting heavyweight to sleep. With this performance, what his first victory failed to do, This one made everyone notice Willis. He can take down a fighter like Crowder with nothing but raw power. But no discussion on fat guys of MMA is complete without mentioning Big Country. Roy Nelson, better known as Big Country, but his first round knockout over Chief Congo is one of the most memorable ones at UFC 159. Congo is a well-built fighter, looking almost like a Greek god. He was muscular, well-toned, and physically much better than Nelson. Congo used to be considered one of the division's top kickboxers, and at one point in time, the odds were all against Nelson. Nelson was the true entertainer who never failed to draw a laugh or two with his belly rubs. But for his physique, even Dana White admits he was in worse physical shape than any other fighter in the UFC. However, what nobody was expecting was a fight lasting only 123 seconds. Nelson stunned everyone with his quick knockout win, sending Congo far back in the heavyweight line. It wasn't just the punch, but how he finished him in 2 minutes that made this knockout special. Our next epic KO remains one of the best, coming from a big fat guy. When Tank Abbott knocked out Steve Nelmark, he looked like a dead man. Tank Abbott made his debut in UFC 6 in 1995. The man started as a professional wrestler and had always held up a tough guy reputation. Before UFC, he was a wrestler and a brawler. Nelmark was more athletic, but more on a leaner side. He had a 2-win streak and looked in excellent shape, but the way Tank finishes his career was horrific in the true sense. Abbott chased Nelmark around the cage for the first minute of their bout. They clinched every time Abbott could catch up to Nelmark, and eventually came the moment when Abbott landed a powerful punch. Nelson fell to pieces, his neck on the side, which made him look horrible, almost dead. It was one of the scariest moments of MMA. No doubt it was one of the most memorable fat guy knockouts in UFC history. Talking of memorable knockouts performed by fat guys, who could forget Butterbean? Known as Butterbean, Esh is probably the most loved fighter, looking more cute than formidable. He had a huge fan following and was a household name. Butterbean started his career as a boxer with 58 knockouts on his record there. After his boxing career went downhill, Esh made appearances in kickboxing, MMA, and pro wrestling events. He attended the 20th Cage Rage event, where he was facing James Thompson. Thompson was a former bodybuilder and was obviously in better shape. With his muscular build and formidable looks, he was also a skilled fighter with 13 wins and 6 losses on his record. His last fight was with Hidehiko Yoshida with a first-round TKO. However, Butterbean looked unimpressed, and as the fight began, he rushed forth and unleashed the barrage that Thompson was unprepared for. Soon, Thompson was with Cage, almost bewildered and helpless, with Butterbean enthralling his audience in the ring. Now, that was a quick one. These upsets prove you can never judge a book by its cover. Just because a fighter is fat and flabby does not mean he can't knock out a muscular build. These upsets make MMA fights even more interesting. On the contrary, if you want to watch how a lean fighter defies expectations, watch how Sean O'Malley knocks out his opponents. Stay tuned for more interesting stories from the fighting ring, and drop a comment below to let us know who your favorite teddy bear is.